Greetings, dear ones. Happy Friday, the 17th of December of 2021. Um, so hard to believe we're already here, almost the end of the year. Welcome, welcome to all who are joining. Um, Today is a full moon, or we're heading into the full moon actually overnight here in the East Coast. I would encourage you to find out the exact timing of the new moon, of the full moon in your area. Not that it really makes a difference, except for when you are aware of the timing, your unconscious and beyond consciousness can actually tie in a little bit more effectively. But the full moon energies are always with you, with us, 24 to 48 hours. 24 to 48 hours before the actual point in time when it is at its perigee, and 24 to 48 hours afterwards. So if you're listening after this, no worries. Even if you're listening, for that matter, months later, the energetics are just right for you at that point in time. So, welcome all, whether you're here live or later, your energetics are actually intertwined and feeding into the beneficial and powerful evolutionary processes that we're going to be looking at and talking about today. So, I welcome everyone. I'm very excited that you are here. I have a new computer, so forgive me, it's a constant little adjustment for the camera um, site. And where do we want to start? So I always encourage everyone, if you've been observing something in your world, if you've noticed something, certain articles have come across your desk, certain animals have been presenting themselves either live to you in your environment or through the many different other avenues that your helpers and guides and teachers will bring clues and signs and information to you all across the board. Computers, television, cars that drive by, conversations you overheard at work or in the line in the store. Um, Helpers try in all kinds of ways to bring us what we're actually asking for, but that entails a whole different way of listening. And that's one of the things that that I train people in individual sessions and in group sessions, is how to attune your system to receive this nonverbal, symbolic, metaphoric language. So I encourage you to join me in those events. One of them, of course, is going to be Tuesday, the solstice event in the evening, where we're going to go a lot deeper into some of the energetics that are coming through today, because as I mentioned, it's still 24 to 48 hours. So we're going to be kind of overlapping the energies of the full moon and all the different constellations that are conjunct with that, as well as the solstice, which is a powerful point. Twice a year, of course, summer solstice and winter solstice, as well as the equinoxes. And why that's important, I'm going to mention a little bit, or I'm going to expand upon that in a little bit. So today we have a lot going on, of course, as you well know, in your life. Everybody is crazy busy because we are involved, all of us, in so many different things. And the holidays are here, and the end of the year is here. So there's a lot going on for many people, but there's also a lot going on cosmically that is impelling that is kind of pushing us or nudging us or even poking us um, to move forward into a new way. So we have, I'm not going to go into the astrology too much. I encourage you to do so. Pam Gregory is on YouTube. I find her to be a very, very clear, very, how would I say this? She really incorporates the human process of evolution because she is also very, very aware of the larger picture with astrology. Some people are kind of very individually focused. She has a wider focus, and I find her to be very, very accurate. So I invite you to do that, to look at the, where it might fall in your chart, the different constellations and planets and their connections and alignments and how that affects you personally. Because there is a science behind it. Astrology isn't just woo woo. This is an ancient science, as a matter of fact. The Sumerians, ancient Egyptians, ancient Greeks, and all of the ancients in Latin America also have been watching, charting the stars, and making measurements. There's actually clear notations, evidence. They Many different items have been left aside from or after or before we were actually writing this up. Some of the ancient astronomers, scientists, and at that point in time, astronomy and philosophy and spirituality were much more recognized as being intertwined, and the human path of evolution. So we have not only the brightness of the full moon, which always brings energy of revelation, because it is shining light on that which is hidden or that which is not seen. And we also have that radiance, depending on, again, the month, the positioning of the moon. There is an actual radiance which has a quality to it that lights up even that which appears to be visible, but has a whole nother layer. And some of the planets that are coming forward to assist us at this point in time are very much about revealing secrets, particularly, according to Pam Gregory, of the rich and powerful. And we're seeing nothing like that in the United States, right? With information coming forward about the January 6th events and who was involved, what did they know, what was actually going on behind the scenes. And again, in a lot more stories that were being made aware of outside of the political arena, even with athletics and sports, rather, and just many, many different areas, even from other countries, which is wonderful. We also have the comet Leonard, which is visible just after, just kind of at dusk, just when the sun has gone down. You can look for Venus, and it should be near there. Again, look up on the internet to find out where exactly and the best time and direction to look for that. It is a comet that only comes around every 80,000 years. So that in itself reveals its power. That, this is not just once in a lifetime, it's not just once in a millennia. This is, once in the history of human existence. And we're going to be talking a little bit about history today, but more so in the solstice. So if you haven't signed up already, please register, because there are instructions, there are things that you need to not only gather for the ceremony, but also things for you to be thinking of in order to bring forward and place in the container in the crucible of our transformation process that will be occurring during that event. We also have an asteroid, a very large asteroid that is considered very, very close. I think, I don't remember the number exactly, but when it's considered, I think it's something like 90 million miles, then it's considered very, very close. So we do have now, and this week itself, there is a tracking system, a way to have a heads up on asteroids that are coming towards us. Some of them, this one I think was measured or calculated to be about um, its width to be about the same height as the Eiffel Tower. And while that doesn't seem very big as far as space uh, configurations go, or space size goes, if it were to hit, particularly at different spots on the earth, but even just to come in and hit the earth, it will throw off the balance of the earth in a very large way. Another wonderful revelation this week was we actually, in a way, we touched the sun this week. Um, and that's never been done before. And again, it brings an awareness and a connection to our central life-giving force in our solar system, and bringing us more knowledge about the cosmos. Now, as I mentioned earlier, well, let me mention one other cosmic event we have going on. We have the full moon, we have the comet, as I mentioned, the asteroid, I think it's been named Nereus, and we also have the Geminid meteors. And those are come every year, but they're very, very visible right now. So if you can get to any dark area, you can actually see shooting stars. That's what the meteors are. And that's always very powerful. Hugely powerful in placing a wish upon. And we're going to be working more with that energy later on in the month of wishing. It's very, very present right now with, the belief in Santa Claus. And even if you're not a child, to bring forward the power of wishing is very, very different than the power of intention. It comes from a different area in your system. It taps into different energies, manifestation energies. We'll be talking about it a lot more, and it looks like on the 24th, the Ancient Future Wisdom episode is going to surround a lot of wish energy, magic, as well as your questions and answers. I'll be doing a lot of reading of people's energy fields there, so I encourage you to try to attend. Hopefully everybody will be off on that Friday. Again, some of the planetary positioning this month is very, very much about bringing that which is hidden out into visibility, out into awareness. That's why we're talking about revelation, as well as, this energy that radiates through even the unseen or unseeable. So I encourage you to, again, kind of find a source, a good source, Earth Sky, NASA. There's a lot of different science journals or magazines that will give you updates on the positioning of the planets, as well as that's the astronomy of it, as well as the astrology. Find a good astrology source. And this also, with this revelation and energy that radiates through the unseen or unseeable, it allows for this wider vision. We were talking about earlier this month the eagle's eye view, and the eagle flies extremely high. Of all of the birds, probably the highest, and therefore has the widest view. And that is something that we can learn how to do through our wider self, which is directly connected to our soul self. And when we're caught up in our challenges and our issues, we tend to be rather myopic and kind of only see that which is in front of us, which is a natural means of protection. So we have planets, we have encouragement, we have this, you know, results of history going on right now. The issues with Ukraine and Russia, when you start looking at their history, each of them individually, and how they've been linked, you really get to know how the sense of being conquered or controlled or oppressed is still running through today's politics. And in this particular instance, Russia has been after the Ukraine for quite some time because that is the easiest and fastest and most direct way to bring an oil petroleum pipeline down from Alaska, from the Antarctic, and through Siberia. They have been going in and making inroads in creating that pipeline. So this what's going on as far as the violence and the potential, God forbid, war, has a lot to do with the old way of conquering and obtaining resources, and thereby attempting to have more power or control in the world. This is why there's an alignment with Russia and Turkey. Again, the area is vital for this pipeline. And that's just one little small picture of how historically what's been going on is coloring what's going on today, which is attempts all across the board to keep the old way of being. That old pyramidal structure that we've spoken about so many times, that has a very few at the top holding power and resources and attempting to oppress the masses. So we're at a very crucial tipping point in that, and this revelation of historically what has gone on between cultures, between countries, is coming to the foreground now, and we each play a significant part because of our lineages, because of where we have been connected through our DNA, through our family lineages. And it plays a part in your individual life. If you have any sort of DNA, blood from particular cultures that are involved in conflict, it is actually going to affect you. You are still intertwined with those. And what's going on in your current culture, let's say if you do live in the United States, what we're seeing politically, what we're seeing socially, what we're seeing culturally, is a direct connection to what you will be experiencing in your individual life, in your individual challenges. And so that interconnection plays off one another, catalyzes one another, and can benefit one another. So it's an opportunity for revelation within you of your past, of your history. And when we're talking about history, of course, we're talking about your childhood that was designed and um, colored by your soul for particular purposes, giving you the opportunity to transform or potentially even transmute those pieces, affecting this evolutionary process. So please be aware that when you're, having a lot of difficulty physically in your relationships, in your career, in your spiritual expression, those are all sparks, catalysts to give you the opportunity to search deeper and access within your history the patterning that led to the current problem, let's call it. And in the process of transforming that, you are changing your personal history and have the potential to change your family history, your culture, the lineages that you're connected to, the cultures that your family has historically come from and are still connected to. So you as an individual are so very powerful and so significant and matter so much in this process of human evolution that we're going through right now. And that's what we look at individually in sessions, like we really go deep in and able to explore and access and work with and transform or transmute those pieces. And my clients know and have experienced in their life not only the change in their immediate environment, their family, friends, coworkers, etc., but also they really feel, they get deep down inside, not just know in their minds, how that is affecting this world. So that back and forth that I was just talking about between us as individuals, what's going on in our immediate environment, what's going on in our culture, what's going on in those cultures that we're connected to, was something that the ancients knew. The ancients knew that our planet and those planets and constellations in not only our solar system but beyond in our galaxy are intimately and intricately intertwined, and that there is a back and forth. What is above as below, as above as below. And that's really what that refers to. So the mathematics, which brings us into the mathematics of those calculations. The ancients were able to calculate the distances between planets, the size of the planets, their timing for their positioning, all extremely down to such a degree that, would seem like, how did they do that without computers? So this back and forth connection is very, very apparent in some of the ancient structures. Certainly the pyramids. We're very well aware at this point, I think, I won't remember the number, I'm sorry, of every certain 1,000 years, I think it's 8,000 years, the pyramids in Giza align with Orion's belt. There's so many other calculations that we'll talk about in future, but those pyramids were built specifically in purposefully and specifically to reflect the cosmos, as well as many structures in Greece that are, and the whole Mediterranean area that was kind of where ancient Greeks were living before it broke up into smaller tribes. And those structures, some of them are not present anymore, but a lot of them are. And archaeologically, we're finding even more and more of cultures before what we've been aware of. And for example, the oracle at Delphi, the positioning of Delphi, and where it is located again in relation to the heavens, allowed for a channeling by the oracle to create information. There was also a lot of, again, all of the mathematics of the structure of the building, the structure of the seat that she would sit on, and how it was connected to the earth and the well beneath her. There's so much that we, kind of poo poo as old or stories or myths, but that ancient knowledge is coming forward even more so now, aligned with information about our cosmos that we were not aware of. Physics is every day showing more and more, again, revelations of the subatomic world. And all of this is a dance, it's a play, it's a back and forth. And what we do and how we live and our transformation and our evolution as a species is absolutely based upon, absolutely influences, absolutely plays a major part in that process. So when we're looking at that wide view we talked about, when we see what the ancients knew and what they calculated, both those in South America, Central and South America, ancient Egypt, ancient Greece, they had a wider view. With their calculations, they knew what was going to happen thousands and thousands and thousands of years ahead. And with this wider view, we can make choices. With your own wider view, once those pieces inside are transmuted or transformed, you have your view actually widens. You're aware of your reach. You're aware of what you came here for. You're aware of a long-standing project by your soul, and this being possibly the culmination. And we have that culmination energy coming through also through the planets right now. So when talking about this wider view, several clients this week, it was very, very interesting. One in particular who is actually a designer, and she was well aware. She's done a lot of work on herself, and we've worked together quite a bit. And she's able to now tap into and access her creation abilities that particularly come through her connections to universal mathematics and beauty, the universal archetype of beauty. And the more you reveal your large S self to yourself, you're able to access these energetics from beyond this plane and channel them in to use in your daily life and bring those energetics to the planet at this point in time. Now, this beautiful person, she has manifested in her business. She's manifested, like literally thought about something. She wanted to expand her business. So she thought, oh my, like I would like a building and I would like it to be such and such and I would like it to be in this location and these features. And boom, literally within 48 hours, that building appeared and for sale. And, or for, in another instance, it was to lease. And she started to not question, but she started to listen to those around her who were very locked into the third dimensional aspects of it. What the market was going to do, what about the building, um, whether she can really make that investment right now. And this literally the whole process, talking to the owners, etc., stopped dead. It froze. A problem arose. And then we worked a little bit more to clear not to clear, to transform the piece of her that doubted her own innate abilities, her own internal wisdom. And boom, the process flowed. Realtors, lawyers, etc., everything started falling into place and the deal was signed. And she's done that several times. So this is a really good example of how one can transform what appear to be childhood challenges, historic patterns that we're locked into, and when done deeply and well, you access the sole purpose of it and are able to access some of your wider self's knowledge, abilities, talents, and energetics from beyond this plane of existence, this 3D existence, and actually apply it into your life, your daily life, your business life, your relationship life. And as I said, when we pop back out of that and are experiencing only the limitations and the limited view of our human self, then we're stopping that process. So it's all tied together. And it's a beautifully, beautifully, breathtakingly awe-inspiring process and system. So I invite you, I encourage you to certainly attend some of the Friday events that I'm doing on a regular basis, the larger transformation events, so that you can actually experience this in your life and then truly come into the group program that is starting at the beginning of the year. And I'm so excited about that, because this interplay between and among the participants of that group is so widespread and so effective that there are huge transformational leaps within a very short period of time because of that group energy and the power of that group. So, yes, please, get into the Applied Universal Alchemy group. There's going to be a lot more updates and, things to look out for on a, daily or several times a week, so that you can be in this process, working with yourself, with the earth, with the cosmos, with your soul, with the culture and events of the day, instead of being a victim of them. We are not in any way, shape, or form. So, anything else I wanted to bring forward today? Uh, the only other thing I wanted to mention was the possum. The possum is very present this week as an animal teacher. That, again, when we think of the possum is about playing dead, is about appearances, looking like something, but instead, is actually something else is going on. So that again kind of plays into the revelations, the revealing, the illuminating, which we're going to be working on again more on Tuesday during the solstice event. This is really how those um, hidden pieces within us and within our cultural world actually come to illuminate us. So that's going to be in the mix. And if you've noticed anything, again, please hop on the comments and let me know what you've been experiencing or what you've been noticing. So I think at this point I'm being told the different combination of energies and um, structuring has taken place so that we can drop into a very internal, your inner verse, allowing for an opportunity to be in the mix, to be affected by, for the sacred geometrics to position you in the exact right way for your benefit and for the larger effects of your presence on this planet. So I encourage you to really find your sits bones, and sometimes if you rock around a little bit or just shift out a little bit of the tissue on the side of you so that those bones, which are right in the center of each buttocks, are available to you to feel upon the chair. And what that does is it also tends to have your back, your shoulder blades kind of slide together and down, opening up your chest, giving more space for your diaphragm, and allowing your skeletal structure to do what it's meant to do, which is to hold you up. We're also like this so often. So when you do so, you will be in a position where you can sink down and in. And again, that's different than probably most meditation practices that you've experienced, which teach you to go up and out through the third eye. This is a much more internal experience, allowing your wider self, your guides and teachers and masters, that can inform your energy field and your body, how to do this, so that you need not think through any process, but instead just feel what could be felt or experienced as your weightiness. In other words, you might experience yourself getting heavier in the chair. You might experience the edges of you getting somewhat diffuse. But ideally, what you want to do is let go of your brain, and that includes even your higher mind and the third eye, because that's a very different place than when you drop down internally and can literally travel the universe through your inner verse, connecting you to, or taking you to, actually, potentially other locations within our galaxy, because those energies I've been mentioning are very galactic. Those measurements that I was referring to, which actually show up in architecture, which is why the Masonic energy is here at this point in time. Masons go far back, as I said, in the structures. Pyramids of Giza, and long, long, long before that, in ancient Egypt, ancient Greece, Sumeria, Central and South America. So those structures align with the cosmic bodies, and connect us to the energies and characteristics of those stars and planets to benefit and kind of compel us along the evolution of our species, of this planet, and its particular system of back and forth, give and take, interdependence, interrelatedness. Again, you need not follow the words or information that I'm speaking of. It's primarily a means by which the energetics can be transmitted, those that are exactly right for you at this point in time, your wider self, which is your soul self, your helpers, guides, teachers, masters. Know exactly the right positioning for you within the sacred geometry of this particular gathering, this particular journey. For you to receive very, very specific frequencies, flavors, so to speak, that will benefit you individually, thereby allowing you to transform, transmute, becoming wider, more multi-existential, and by that referring to the you beyond this third dimension, or the yous beyond this third dimension, that you want to bring forth, your soul wants to bring forth. Allowing you to create with those skills, abilities, knowledge, in combination with others. To bring this new way, new old way, into physicalization here and now. For many of the planets assisting at this point in time, are revealing injustices, exclusivity, all of which maintain separation. Preventing a unified effort to evolve the species, humans. Which are the kind of linchpin to the evolution of many other physical and non-physical species. This planet is much like a grand central station with connections, portals, avenues, not merely to other dimensions, but to other worlds and realms and kingdoms. which you may very well have chosen to bring forth and transmit into this process of evolution. Just allowing yourself to sink down. No effort, no push, no focus, no visioning necessary, but instead to merely sensate as your wider self, guides and teachers and masters through your energy field. Gently lead you to the exact right location for you. Perhaps an ancient culture perhaps a culture from another planet, or even galaxy. It spent time on this planet and is no longer. Physically apparent, but is or can be present through you. In other words, that being part of your lineage. Spiritual lineage. Perhaps that lineage is through the magical kingdoms. Which there are so many, bringing all forms of magic, or perhaps a world much like we have seen in books and movies called fantasy, or labeled fantasy. much more than you know. Allow what appears to be challenges or issues to be the avenues by which you access ultimately the wide, wide self that you are. Couple of minutes, really allowing yourself to sink down deeply into the powerful and intricate mathematics, beautiful, revelatory, and radiant energy of our moon. Ancients and their awareness, knowledge, the powerful oneness behind and under and through all. As a above, so below, as within, so without. And as the integration and consolidation begins, that doesn't mean you need do anything. Sensating again, your internal experience. The more you feel, sensate, the more deeply the energetics here at this point in time, assisting, guiding, showing, revealing, leading, catalyzing. And as you simply, very, very gently allow your wider self and your energy field to guide you, lead you in the exact right way, pace, and timing. So it appears this process is going to be just a couple more minutes. Nothing you need do, nothing you need know, nothing. But feel, sensate, experience, receive. of your energy field. That is being informed by your wider self. Bringing you from a less physical state back to a more physical experience of this dimension. And on the way, you may receive a symbol, a sound, a shape, or some other form of symbolic guidance. Do not be surprised if it is a geometric shape, since that is a very key energetic that presented today. And again, I invite you to join us on Tuesday evening for the solstice event. We're going to be going, it's going to be about 90 minutes to 2 hours, so we're going to be going deeply in to levels of you individually, culturally, historically. So please register, because you'll need the Zoom information, but moreover, there are instructions of things to gather, to have with you that night, and some other preparation. So please direct message me, email me, any way you can. Those are the two best to be able to register, so that you're already set to go on Tuesday, this powerful, powerful solstice. So, as always, it is with the deepest of honor, gratitude, and love for your presence on this planet. Until next time, bye-bye.